It is one of the most widely used metals on Earth.
The global demand for this resource, which is significant today and going to be much more significant in the months and years ahead, and to have a third of the relative to the global reserves, to have a third of that resource present right here in Saskatchewan, that's a significant discussion. It's not just the products that we are producing that are significant, but it's how we are producing those products that are significant. And I think it's a real opportunity for, as I say, the community and surrounding area of Tisdale, but also our province, our nation, and for the world to be able to access a product like this from a secure and reliable, ethical and sustainable trading partner. And there aren't very many countries that meet all of those criteria.
A quiet town in Canada may be sitting on something huge. Scientists found a massive aluminum deposit all in one place, not across many countries. They say it could reshape the future of supply. But here's the catch. No one knows yet how fast this could change everything, or who will control it when it does. Christopher Hopkins, President and CEO of Canadian Energy Metals, stated during the announcement that the deposit contains 50 billion tons of critical minerals, total close to 7 billion tons of alumina alongside scandium and vanadium, both essential to alloy production. The ore type immediately distinguishes this discovery from every other significant aluminum deposit on the planet. This is not bauxite, the red rock that has defined aluminum mining globally, and that comes predominantly from tropical regions far from North American manufacturing centers. The Thor deposit is polytopic black shale, sitting between 20 and 50 meters below the surface in areas already drilled, with deposits extending deeper to the west and south. That geological distinction matters because it affects extraction methodology, processing requirements, and environmental footprint in ways that make the Thor project's development pathway categorically different from conventional alumina mining. The scale figure that stops everything else cold came directly from Hopkins during the announcement. There is enough resource in the ground to mine for more than 2,000 years at 50,000 tons per day. That is not a mine with a defined operational lifespan. That is a geological asset that outlasts the institutional frameworks within which any mining company or government currently operates. When Hopkins said 2,000 years, he was describing something closer to a continental resource endowment than a conventional mineral deposit. The preliminary economic assessment, prepared by two leading engineering firms, translates that geological scale into financial projections that explain why every major economy is now paying attention. The modeled internal rate of return is 72% after tax. The net present value of cash flows, discounted at 10% after tax, stands at $72.3 billion US. Hopkins identified the potential cash flows over a 25-year project life as very large, with a net present value of approximately $70 billion from the single mining project across that period. The financial model contemplates initial capital expenditures of $6.3 billion US, operating costs of $1.66 billion per year, and product price assumptions of $5,000 per ton for chemical-grade alumina and $25,000 per ton for high-purity alumina. Average throughput is modeled at 16.5 million tons per year of ore feed, supporting aluminum production of 1.8 million tons annually across the 25-year operational period. The geopolitical context in which this discovery lands is precisely what gives it significance beyond its geological and financial metrics. Hopkins stated it plainly during the announcement. Most of the world's aluminum currently comes from China, and that supply chain is no longer considered secure. Canada currently produces aluminum at approximately 3 to 4% of global consumption, a meaningful but not dominant position. If the Thor project gets developed and commercialized at the scale, the preliminary assessment models, that calculation changes fundamentally. Canada would shift from a significant but secondary aluminum producer to a potential dominant supplier to the United States and allied nations, providing a long-term alternative to imported bauxite from supply chains that carry geopolitical risk. The United States context amplifies this directly. American manufacturers in automotive, aerospace, defense, packaging, and construction depend on aluminum at scale. US Section 232 tariffs on Canadian aluminum imports have been at 50% since June 2025, disrupting established supply relationships and redirecting Canadian aluminum exports toward European buyers. The Thor project if developed, would create a domestic North American alumina source of such scale that the dependency dynamics of the current trade dispute would be permanently altered. Hopkins emphasized that anything that moves products, transmits power, or stores energy uses aluminum, a description that covers electric vehicles, renewable energy infrastructure, aerospace manufacturing, military equipment, and the entire grid build-out required for the energy transition. The demand trajectory for aluminum across all of those sectors is upward and sustained. The Thor project positions Canada at the supply side of that demand curve for a geological timeframe measured in millennia. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe stated that the Thor project pairs the province's prominent policies with a substantial geological advantage, describing the government's excitement about a new aluminum industry establishing itself in a province ready for the jobs and investment it would bring. Moe drew a direct comparison to Saskatchewan's potash industry, already a multi-billion-dollar global operation, and said aluminum has the potential to match it as a major provincial export. That comparison is not rhetorical inflation. Saskatchewan potash is one of Canada's most strategically significant mineral exports, commanding global market leverage because of the concentration of reserves. Moe is saying aluminum could replicate that strategic position. Tisdale Mayor Mike Hill described the Thor project as placing the region at the forefront of Canada's alumina and critical mineral supply chain, calling it Canada's first major domestic alumina resource with national and global significance. The infrastructure reality behind that description matters enormously. Saskatchewan already has the CN and CPKC rail lines stretching across the property. Natural gas and electrical transmission lines are present on site. 2 hydroelectric dams totaling 544 megawatts of capacity are located near the town of Nipawin. Hopkins noted that the existing rail capacity can move any quantity to any market in North America and beyond, providing transport access to both coasts. The infrastructure advantage is not incidental. It is the difference between a geological discovery and a commercially viable industrial operation. The environmental profile of the Thor project adds another dimension that matters both commercially and politically. Hopkins stated this would be the greenest aluminum on Earth. The processes developed with engineering firm Hatch demonstrate strong economic and environmental advantages over conventional bauxite-based alumina production. Canada's use of hydroelectric power to smelt alumina into aluminum makes the end product among the lowest carbon aluminum available globally. The metals targeted alumina, scandium, and vanadium are described as essential to Canada's advancement in aerospace, defense, and sustainable energy. In the context of the global transition from hydrocarbons to electric systems, Hopkins stated that alumina is the most sought-after major mineral because the efficiencies required demand lightweight materials, and aluminum is the preeminent lightweight metal. Canadian Energy Metals has already successfully produced 3N chemical-grade alumina and 4N high-purity aluminum at 99.991% purity. Additional metallurgical and process testing is underway for smelter-grade alumina, scandium, and vanadium recovery. The company's 2026 objectives include updating the mineral resource estimate based on the successful 2025 drill program, preparing a pre-feasibility study, engineering the design of a commercial demonstration plant, and pursuing opportunities to advance, finance, and monetize the Thor project. Hopkins was direct about the development pathway. The project is too large for Canadian Energy Metals to develop alone. The expectation is that a major global mining company, a Rio Tinto, a BHP, or equivalent, will step in to develop a deposit of this scale. The company's role is to define the resource, establish the processing technology, and position the project for that institutional transition. Important caveats accompany the announcement. The preliminary economic assessment is preliminary. It includes inferred mineral resources that are considered too speculative geologically to have economic considerations applied sufficient to classify them as mineral reserves. There is no certainty the assessment will be realized until mineral deposits are actually mined and processed. Mineral resources at this stage remain estimates. Economic viability has not yet been demonstrated through the full feasibility and engineering processes that precede a development decision. What has been demonstrated is the scale of what sits in the ground near Tisdale, Saskatchewan. 1/3 of the world's known aluminum supply, enough to mine for 2,000 years. A net present value of $70 billion across a 25-year project life. Canada's first major domestic alumina resource, and a supply chain answer to one of the most strategically significant material dependencies in North American manufacturing.